For today's review, we're going to put aside the giant monsters and the destroying of cities and focus on a science fiction film that's a little more grounded. The keyword being little. The H-Man was released in 1958, directed by Shiro Honda, and begins with a drug deal during a rainy night in Tokyo. One of the mobsters in the deal suddenly disappears, and all that's left behind are his clothes. The police eventually track down the mobster's girlfriend to find out what's going on, and if she knew where her boyfriend's last known whereabouts were. She's clueless on this situation. She doesn't know what's going on. Suddenly, more people keep disappearing and leaving behind their clothes. And soon, a professor, played by Kenji Sahara, tells the officers that there were men that had one of their crew members disappear and die in the exact same way. And they soon revealed that there are these liquid creatures that are radioactive living in the sewers of Tokyo called the H-Men. So it's up to the scientists and the police to try to figure out how to kill them. This is a science fiction film that I don't think gets talked about that often because I actually really dig this movie. The H-Man is a movie that, again, it's not about the giant monsters or anything. It's more about a mystery. One of the things I really admire about this movie is that it has a film noir mystery detective feel to it, crossed with horror and science fiction. First half of the movie is very much like film noir, right down to the point where the mobster's girlfriend, played by Yumi Shirakawa, works at a nightclub as a singer. You can't get any more film noir than that. But it definitely makes this movie stand out from all the other science fiction films that Toho is making because it's sort of cross-bending two types of genres, film noir and science fiction. The characters may not be very well developed, but the actors do have great charisma, and this is the third time that Kenji Sahara and Yumi Shirakawa have basically joined forces in terms of the movies I've reviewed, because they were boyfriend-girlfriend in Rodin, they were boyfriend-girlfriend in Mysterians, and now they are kind of lovers in The H-Man. It's hard to tell if they really have romantic feelings for each other in this film, but this is the third time in a row that they've been paired together. Once we get to the second half of the movie, when we find out about The H-Man, that's when the horror science fiction element kicks in, and it boosts some incredible special effects, mainly when you see people melting to the ground. In a way, it's kind of horrifying. Like, the fact that this creature touches anyone and they melt to the ground, leaving behind their clothes. It's kind of like the equivalent of the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz melting to the ground. So you don't get a lot of miniature planes and tanks and guys in rubber suits this time around. So the effects are a little more basic, and they look more incredible, given the fact that this movie's 58 years old. And the creature itself, in a way, is kind of horrifying. It doesn't show up that much, which might be a disappointment for some people, but again, the first half of the movie is like a film noir, so you're left in mystery on what's behind all these killings. And when you get to the creature itself, it's kind of threatening. And another thing that really makes this creature a little more scary is, well, its name. The H-Men were crew members of a ship that got exposed to H-bomb testings, similar to the Lucky Dragon No. 5 event, which inspired the opening of Godzilla. So it makes the H-Men the only other monsters next to Godzilla to be a direct metaphor for the H-bomb. And given that this was made by a country that experienced the H-bomb firsthand, it's kind of effective. I mean, it would probably been incredibly effective back in 1958, but I'm not trying to say that this movie is as good as Godzilla. It's not even close, because while I really do like this movie, there are a few problems. Some of the special effects are pretty cheesy. When I say some, I mean one shot in particular. There's a scene when the H-Man breaks into the nightclub that Yumi Shirakawa's character is working at, and attacks one of the dancers. The film suddenly freezes to have the dancer go like, "Ah!" And again, the frame is frozen, and you see this animated slime cover her whole body as the film's frozen. And it's like, okay, that's a little cheesy, and given the fact that a lot of the other special effects in this film are pretty great to look at, this one really stands out in being cheesy, and I'm not scared. There's no tension there. But then again, it was 1958, so they couldn't really have the technology to cover her whole body in slime as she's rolling around in a panic. So that I can kind of slip by. And then the ending, it's not a bad ending at all. It's just downright weird. Okay, so this requires spoilers, but this movie is kind of crazy that I don't think spoiling the ending will really spoil the rest of the movie and how it gets to that point. But basically, the H-Men are in the sewers. The government decides, you know what, we're gonna fill the sewers with gasoline, set it on fire, and that'll kill the H-Man. But suddenly the fire leaks out in sort of the river area of Tokyo, and the flames get so huge that they're almost going to engulf the buildings. And then we just have scientists going, we've killed the H-Men, but I feel like there are more H-Men out there, and we need to be careful. I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of the basic idea of what he's saying. And during that whole speech, you're just like, is nobody paying attention to your city going to be caught on fire? And then the last shot of the movie is the city practically engulfed in flames, and the little Japanese "The End" title card shows up, and I'm like, yeah, you guys may have killed the H-Man, but you just burned your city to the ground, and this time you have no Godzilla to blame it on. So that ending was a little weird, but overall, I think the H-Man is actually a pretty good movie when you get down to it. It's definitely an underrated film. I don't hear a lot of Toho fans talk about this one. It's got some great special effects. It's got some suspense. It's got some, while not interesting characters, definitely likable characters. This is one that I can definitely recommend to non-fans of Toho science fiction. You'll definitely get something out of this. And plus, it's more grounded, so it's probably more accessible than something like tomorrow's movie. So I definitely say The H-Man is worth seeing in your lifetime. Is it one of the best films Ishiro Honda's directed? Not at all, no. But it's still pretty good regardless. And it has the only other monster that comes close to being a straight-up metaphor for the H-bomb, the way Godzilla was. So definitely worth seeing in your lifetime. And that's my review for The H-Man. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.